Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. We appreciate everybody joining us a little bit later tonight than normal. We appreciate folks bearing with us there. Um, Exciting not to, as we look ahead to Saturday, the Lady Vols did play this evening at Florida State, lost on a heartbreaker 92-91. Um, Honestly, anytime you score 91 points in a basketball game, you should win the game, if I'm being totally honest. But that was, credit to Florida State. They hit 13 threes in the game. Why we continue to stay in a 2-3 zone or in a zone period when the other team is hitting 13 threes, I don't know. But that's what we did. And we continue, by the way, if I'm not a basketball genius by any means, but you play a zone to force the team to shoot from the outside. So we forced them to shoot from the outside, and they shot it from the outside very well. You would think we might go to a man, or in that case, a woman, as the ladies' Vols, but we did not, and we lost. So kudos to Rakia Jackson, 31 points on the evening. But tonight we are here to talk about the Saturday game. I almost said Friday again. I did that last week, but the game on Saturday at Columbia, Missouri. We already got some folks chiming in. Wes used to enjoy the show, not anymore. Awesome. Good to have you with us, Wes.
Well, he posted that at 9 o'clock, so that's my fault. Life happened tonight. We were planning to go live at 9 like normal, but I rolled in here on two wheels at 9:28, so 9:30 was even a stretch.
Let's see. Carl said it's a very fan-friendly show. We appreciate that, Carl, very much. Thank you. Vols fan in Georgia. What's up, everyone? How's it going? That Tennessee game upset me. Thank goodness for men's basketball tomorrow. That is true. The men's team plays tomorrow at Wisconsin.
Unfortunately, you probably aren't going to get to watch it.
That is also true. My understanding is you have to have a subscription to Peacock, which is NBC streaming service, to be able to see that game.
And that's the only way.
Let's see. Rebecca said it was a crazy good game tonight. It sure was. Tennessee was down 8 at the half, 54-46. And they came out and, they put up some points. They put up some points. Vols fan in Georgia said life can kick everyone, even Russ. Oh, nice. He has Peacock. That's good.
You're the person. You're the reason they exist.
Watch party at Vols fan in Georgia's house. That'd be great. We're glad he's with us tonight as well. I was interacting with him on YouTube a little bit earlier today, so that's exciting. Well, as you all know, we have a game on I said Friday again. We have a game on Saturday. Oh, wait, what? My mind just got blown.
Zach's switching screen names on you.
That blows my mind. All right, well, Zach, welcome, buddy. We got that's going to be hard to get used to. Daniel, you said give us your password and won't tell anyone. It's definitely not recorded forever on YouTube now. So.
I'm betting that Peacock is not that established of a service, and if like 20,000 Tennessee fans all use the same login, I'm not sure they would notice.
I wonder if it would crash their servers.
It might.
They might have an influx of free trial users over the next 24 hours. So this Saturday, Tennessee at Missouri, man, oh man, what a huge Saturday for Vols fans. And it's not just the 3:30 game that's huge. It's also the ESPN primetime game, Ole Miss at Georgia. Both of those, if you're a Vols fan, both of those games are almost essentially equally as important to you this week because Ole Miss has to help Tennessee in order for Tennessee to make it to Atlanta. Let's see. Aftermath Chris said, "What's up, bros? So good to have you with us, Aftermath Chris." He says, "So ready for Saturday. I'm confident we can beat Mizzou. Nervous our fate will be in the hands of Kiffin of all people." That is very true. It sure is. Oh, nice. Zach said, "I have it for King of Queens and everybody loves Raymond." Everybody Loves Raymond is an awesome show. That is a fantastic show. That one of the best shows ever. So, Rustin, our first question. Hey, Matt, welcome, Matt. Good to have you with us, buddy. Rustin, our first question for the evening. What do you want to see on Saturday?
Honestly, I said this last weekend, and I think it still rings true. I want to see the exact same game plan from Texas A&M. I want to see us pound the rock. I want to see us establish physicality at the line of scrimmage. We said this the other night. This Missouri team is giving up 158 yards rushing a game in the SEC, and 3 of those games were South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. Against LSU and Georgia, they gave up a whole lot more than that. And I think our running back core is better than any of those teams. So, I could easily see us getting well over 200 yards rushing. That keeps Missouri's offense off the field. I want to see our defense do 2 things. Missouri runs a lot of stretch zone. So this is another Elijah Herring game, because when teams run a lot of stretch zone, the purpose of the stretch zone is the running back just basically skates along the line of scrimmage until a hole opens up. Then he plants his foot and gets north and south through that hole. If Elijah Herring doesn't do his alignment and assignment properly, he's probably going to be that hole most of the time. So, this is another challenge for him. I'm not worried about cutbacks because they'll typically be cutting back to Aaron Beasley. So that actually plays to our advantage. I'm more concerned about the stretch zone and Elijah Herring doing his job. So if Elijah does his job and we contain the stretch and force them to become one-dimensional, there's pretty good odds that Luther Burden is not playing. So all of a sudden, if we can make them one-dimensional without their best receiver and we can control the line of scrimmage on offense, I think it's a good day for us.
That is true. As of right now, technically, Luther Burden is listed as questionable. So we don't know for sure if he'll be playing or not, but the word questionable never sounds good.
Well, and earlier this week, Eli Drinkwitz, I think it was Tuesday, made the comment that Theo Weiss and Brady Cook are probable, but still listed Luther Burden as questionable, which, if this was gamesmanship, you would have listed them all the same. The fact that he was basically saying Theo Weiss and Brady Cook are going to play means Luther Burden probably isn't.
Well, that's when you pull out the old Josh Heupel or player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have lots
on the depth chart. So here's what I'm going to see. As I thought about this, and I'm totally breaking all of our rules tonight as far as like, what do you want to see? Who do you expect to have a big game? I'm not going to call on one person. I'm calling on 4 when we get to who's going to have a big game. What I want to see is our defensive backs be able to cover their receivers effectively and without much assistance from other defensive backs. If we can do that, that is going to help us stop Schrader. That's the bottom line. This has to be a complete team defense win. It has to. There's too much going on. You have a mobile quarterback who can also throw it. You've got an excellent running back. You've got receivers that are pretty dang good, especially if Luther Burden's playing, which I don't think he will. But every single part of the defense has to be on their A game in order for us to win this game. I like the fact that it's going to be warm. I think that helps us. It is not going to be your typical November Missouri night. So I'm excited about that. Some of the comments coming in. Let's see here. Rebecca, good to have you. She said, Lane owes it to us to beat Georgia. Amen. I totally agree. Billy, welcome, buddy. It's good to have you. He said, "Hey, everyone." Let's
So,
see.
so when you get done with these comments, I want to throw out a hypothetical scenario that Greg McElroy talked about yesterday that is kind of depressing, honestly, but at the same time, really, really interesting.
Okay.
So don't let me forget that.
Carl said, "Vols win. Heupel continues Drinkwitz's career at Missouri." Okay. Carl makes a really good point. For anybody who's wondering, what is an advantage that Tennessee has in this game? Honestly, it's Josh Heupel. Heupel has dominated in his career.
64-24 over the last 2 years average.
Yep. God Guns and Ammo, welcome, buddy. He said, "What's up, fellas? I think it's going to be a race to the quarterback, 100%." I totally agree. Billy said, "I can't wait for tomorrow's game." So the basketball team plays tomorrow, but Billy might be like me, and he might be saying football plays tomorrow because I did that all week last week, when really it's Saturday, and I kept messing that up last week. I was like, tomorrow's game, I mean Saturday, but basketball plays tomorrow. That's right.
Maybe Billy's the other person that has Peacock.
That's right. He might. Zach said, "I want to see us stopping their running back. If we do that, they won't have a shot at winning." I agree. Kind of. I'm concerned about Cook and their receivers because here's the thing. We did that against Kentucky. We stopped Davis and we won because of it. We stopped their rushing attack. Dude, he had 42 yards total. He came into the game leading the SEC in rushing, and we held him to 42 yards total. But O'Leary had a Heisman day against us because we sold out to stop the run, and it almost bit us. We only won by 3. Cook and their receivers are better, and so I don't know. We'll have to see. If Luther Burden plays, it gets a little bit tougher.
That's a big. Well, no, I think if Luther Burden plays, it's even. I think if Luther Burden doesn't play, it's actually a whole lot easier on our DBs because outside of Theo Weiss, there's nobody else. I mean, it's those 2 guys and no one else. So if Luther Burden's not out there, we can double Theo Weiss and play man on everybody else, and that's a massive advantage.
Brennan's thinking the same thing I was. He said we have to win in the secondary, get pressure on Cook, win in the secondary. Good to have you with us, Brennan.
Yeah.
Let's see. Daniel said they got to finish in the red zone with 7, not 3. Totally agree. Missouri is scoring on 95% of red zone attempts. Okay, I'm glad you said this because I saw this stat earlier today. He is exactly right. Missouri has scored on all but 3 the whole season. They've scored on every single red zone appearance, I guess you could say, except for 3. However, a lot of times it's field goals and not touchdowns. So they've been in kind of the same boat we have as far as they're kicking field goals, which is what got them against Georgia. They're kicking field goals instead of getting it in the end zone. So hopefully, our defense can stand up against it and hold them to field goals, and hopefully we can get 7. I totally agree. Matt was talking about that. He said, but Missouri is field goal happy in the red zone, one of the worst in the SEC. Ricky said, can we change it to who do you want to see instead of what do you want to see? We can. Yeah, man. We can do whatever we want, I guess. Let's see. Billy said, question, what if Ole Miss loses and we take care of business and win in Georgia? What does that do for the ball? Great question, Billy. So here's the thing. If we win and Ole Miss beats Georgia. Oh, you said, what if Ole Miss loses? If Ole Miss loses, Georgia's in the SEC championship.
Yep.
So the next 2 weeks, if Georgia wins either game, they only have 2 SEC games left. Ole Miss this week and us next week, because their last game is against Georgia Tech. So they only have 2 games left. If Georgia wins either one of those games, they're in the SEC championship game. That's simple for them. If Ole Miss beats Georgia this week and we beat Missouri, then all of a sudden, next Saturday in Neyland is now for the SEC East title and a trip to Atlanta. And so we got to have Ole Miss win. If they don't, then it's over. Now, you might say, well, what does that do for us? In the second part of this question, what does that do for the Vols if Ole Miss loses? Honestly, I think it really, really hurts us bad, because that means next week they come into Neyland and they're essentially playing to make sure they stay in the playoff, which they're going to be hyped up about, obviously. And we're just playing to make sure we get into a New Year's Six bowl, if that, because we might not even make it then. We still have a pretty good shot at making a New Year's Six bowl, but we'd have 3 losses at that point. So maybe not. And Georgia will be playing for literally everything. They're playing to stay in the playoff hunt. Somebody was talking to me earlier today. I can't remember. It may have been Ricky, actually. Ricky and I may have been talking about this. If that whole scenario we just talked about happens, Ole Miss beats Georgia. Or excuse me, if Georgia beats Ole Miss, they're in the SEC championship game. But then if we beat Georgia, Georgia goes in the SEC championship game as a 1-loss team. Both Alabama and Georgia would then be 1-loss teams. If Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia's out of the playoff, because essentially that SEC championship game then becomes a play-in game for the playoff, because if Florida State wins out, that's an undefeated ACC champion. They're in the playoff. If Washington wins out, that's an undefeated Pac-12 champion. They're in the playoff. If Ohio State wins out, that's an undefeated Big Ten champion. They're in the playoff. So all of a sudden, that 4th playoff spot becomes real interesting. The SEC might miss out on the playoff, because if Texas, Alabama, and Georgia all have 1 loss, and Alabama beat Georgia, but Texas beat Alabama, Texas is getting that nod. They're going to get the nod to the playoff, and then the SEC's not in the playoff for the first time ever, I think. So while we're talking about this, what was McElroy's scenario?
Exactly that. He was preparing the Alabama fans for no SEC team getting into the playoffs. He basically said, between Ohio State and Michigan, somebody's going to win. Whichever one does, they're in. Between, whoever ends up winning the Pac-12, the options are all ahead of Alabama right now. So, one of them is getting in. Florida State will be in, because nobody left on their schedule is going to beat them. And that leaves a 4th spot that's either going to be Georgia winning out, or if Georgia slips up and loses at any point, they're going to fall behind Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to matter who wins the SEC championship, because Texas beat Alabama head to head, and Texas will get in that 4th spot if they win out. And, it's different when it's one of us talking about it. When it's one of the most Homer Alabama homers there is, trying to prepare Alabama fans for, if we win the SEC championship, we're not getting in. That was interesting to listen to, and they lost their minds.
Oh,
The next hour of callers were people just losing it, and he was trying to talk them through it. The reality is, right now, the SEC's only chance to have a team in the playoff is if Georgia wins out.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, or Texas loses.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's probably not going to happen. My boom arm for my mic just came straight out of the holster. If it made a loud sound, sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, if Texas wins out and Georgia loses, I mean,
yep,
there's a very likely chance that SEC's not in the playoff.
I'm telling you, unless Georgia is the SEC champion, The SEC champion won't get in. If Alabama upsets them, it's not going to happen.
Mr. Jones said the SEC champion will get in.
And look at it from the committee's perspective as well. And McElroy didn't come straight out and say this, but he kind of hinted at it. If you're going to a 12-team playoff next year, what's the best way to make sure everybody's excited and wanting it? Have a ton of controversy this year on who gets in.
Ricky said it comes down to quality losses. That's a flashback to last year's college football playoff rankings. Yep. I like that, Ricky. That was a good one. But I mean, in that situation, okay, so even what you just said, if we beat Georgia and Alabama are both one-loss teams going into the SEC championship game. Alabama beats Georgia. Georgia's a 2-loss team. They're not getting in the playoff. And then it would go down to Alabama and Texas. Texas beat Alabama head-to-head. There's no way they could put Alabama in over Texas.
Right.
Well, ethically, I'll put it that way.
No, I mean, even again, Greg McElroy, who is as Bama gets, was sitting there saying, if it comes down to Alabama and Texas, we are not getting in.
Carl. That's pretty good, Carl. Bama fans have been known to react violently to things not going their way. For example, after the kick six, an Alabama fan, a lady, murdered another Alabama fan, literally. And her reasoning was she wasn't upset enough after the kick six. That's literally crazy. That is not okay. Oh, Mr. Jones, I wish, buddy. Mr. Jones said 2-loss Tennessee team can get in with wins. We'll have over Georgia and Bama, and we'd be SEC champions. No, I'm sorry. That I wish that were the case. I really do.
Unless Texas loses.
And Washington loses. And Oregon. Washington loses, and then Washington beats Oregon in the championship game.
Yeah. There's a lot of what ifs that would have to happen for that to happen.
He said no faith.
Not much.
I mean, it's an outside. I mean, we're grasping at straws to say there's an outside chance Tennessee can still make it to Atlanta. They definitely ain't getting in the playoff. I mean, think about this. Reed Carringer said it best. Alabama or Georgia has now won like 28 straight games or something like that. What is the statistical likelihood that they're going to lose the next 2 in a row after winning 28 straight? I mean, that's a good way of putting it. So, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. Going back up to some of the comments that were coming through, Robert gave us a score prediction, so I got that one starred. We'll go back to that here in a little bit. Tony, welcome, Tony. He said, really nervous about the game because of our secondary. Afraid Cook will light it up. Amen, brother. I'm in the same boat you are in. Absolutely. Zach said, well, if he cooks, we'll eat. Well played, Zach. Let's see. Aftermath, Chris said, Missouri's passing offense versus our secondary worries me more than anything else in this game. I totally agree. 100%. That is exactly my concern as well. Benjamin, welcome, Benjamin. Good to have you with us, buddy. He said, do you guys think Joe will get any NFL attention, especially with the arm and all the hype Levis got for his? Without a doubt. We both agree that he will certainly get some attention because it's all about projection and measurables. Yep.
Everything's measurements.
Daniel, this is a good stat here. He said Luther Burden has like 45% of their total offensive points. Can't remember. He's certainly a dynamic weapon, and they need him. If he's not playing, that is certainly beneficial to Tennessee. Arion Carter, Tony said Arion Carter is out the next 2 weeks. I did not know that. I'm glad you let me know that.
Yep.
I missed that somehow. He said, I would rather have T-Lander than Herring at linebacker. So that's really not good for Tennessee. The 2 most important weeks of the year so far, and we're not going to have one of our top 4 linebackers. That is not good. That is not good. That's really not good. Especially, both weeks, really.
It won't be as much of an issue against Georgia. Mike Bobo's a traditional offense. They're going to line up, play, downhill, play action. Traditional linebackers will be fine against them. It's more teams like Missouri that run a lot of stretch zone that the linebackers are going to be stressed.
Tony said, I told them on Vol Nation 2 weeks ago that Georgia's not losing to Missouri and Ole Miss. I stand by it, but I pray I'm wrong. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. Zach said, I don't think it would go to Michigan in the playoff if they're only one loss team, no matter what they do, unfortunately, for the players. I agree. Michigan, whoever wins Ohio State, Michigan
is in.
Because they're going to end up playing Iowa in the Big Ten championship. So that's not going to.
All they got to do is score a touchdown to win that game.
Yeah, that's it. Literally, that is all. Maybe a safety actually could get the job done. So whoever wins Ohio State, Michigan is in the playoff. That's just the reality of it. Whichever one loses will not be in the playoff because there will be other conference champions that they would defer to over a non-conference champion. So yeah, whoever wins Ohio State, Michigan will be in, and whoever loses is out. Let's see. Okay, Matt said with a Texas loss, Florida State loss, and Oregon-Washington split, then there's a chance that Tennessee, if they won the SEC, could get in. I agree. If Texas loses, that's their second loss. Texas is out.
I'm strictly talking chalk. Like if you look at who they have remaining, Texas should absolutely win out. Their remaining 3 games have a combined record of 13-14. So they should absolutely win out. Florida State should absolutely win out. They don't really have anything left.
The only chance for Florida State to lose really would be in the ACC championship game against Louisville. That's the only, and they're not going to lose to Louisville, but that's the only chance that they would have to lose. And if they did lose that, then it would be difficult to put in a one-loss non-conference champion, Florida State, in over a one-loss SEC champion. That wouldn't happen. They would obviously take the SEC champion then. But for Tennessee to be the SEC, they would be a 2-loss SEC champion. So do you put a 2-loss team in the playoff over a 1-loss team? Talk about controversy. If Oregon and Washington split, I agree. That's the thing, man, for Washington. I feel bad. Washington may have to beat Oregon twice to get into the playoff. If they lose to Oregon, which Washington's schedule the next 3 weeks ain't easy. They got tough games ahead of them, and then they got to play Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. So Washington may end up with 2 losses by the end of this deal. They might be out. Ricky said it could be chaos like when LSU got in with 2 losses. So the next 3 weeks, yeah, for real. It could be massive chaos. Guys, it could start this weekend with massive chaos. If Penn State upsets Michigan, all of a sudden we got a bunch. And if Ole Miss beats Georgia this weekend, woo, buddy, it's going to be real crazy, real fast. It'd be fun to watch, honestly. Daniel, harkening back to the Indianapolis Colts playoffs. I love it. Oh, Mr. Jones, come on now. Nice. Well played. I'm sure you're just commenting on Michael Penix's ability as a quarterback. I'm sure that's what he's commenting on. He's certainly a good quarterback. Let's see. Matt Begley, they're due. Who? I'm behind. So, Matt, let me know in the comments who you're talking about. Because it's 10 o'clock and I'm 7 minutes behind on the comments here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Carlson, remember when the playoff committee found a way to get Ohio State in when they didn't win their conference? Got crushed, I believe, by Clemson. Ohio State is certainly the playoff committee's darling. It's like Michael Scott looking at Ryan and saying, "You would be the belle of the ball." That's how they feel about it.
And it would be a ratings nightmare for the NCAA, but the teams that the committee I think is probably going to lean on as kind of the ones they really want to see are Washington and Oregon. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they got crazy and decided to keep 2 Pac-12 teams and took Washington and Oregon if there was a bunch of chaos and a bunch of people lost,
especially
just because it's the final year of the Pac-12 and because Bo Nix and Michael Penix can put up a lot of points.
And especially if they split.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even have to do their typical playoff jumbling. Whenever there's 2 teams that get in from the same conference, one magically always ends up hurdling another team to be able to not have to play each other in the first round.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even have to do that with Oregon and Washington. If they split, they just slide them in at 3 and 4.
Right.
And then they're not playing each other in the first round.
If a bunch of teams win and there's chaos, I could absolutely see that happening.
Aftermath Chris said, at this point, I feel like playoffs are completely out of question this year. They are. I totally agree. It's not happening.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. He said, but I'd love to have the SEC's title. Absolutely, buddy. 100% agree with that. Give us Atlanta. We know we're not going to the playoff, but give us Atlanta. Absolutely. Mr. Jones said about Missouri, we're playing a game this weekend. He said if the Vols win in the trenches, they win this game. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mr. Jones said SEC championship is harder to win than the Natty. Maybe in the 12-team playoff, but in the 14 playoff, it's hard to get in that 4. No doubt about it. I know you're probably talking about just the level of competition, but Carl said, still think Heupel has the recipe to run Missouri. Tigers have played well, but we have better talent. Agreed. Mr. Jones said Ohio State and Michigan are always ranked high to start the season because the experts know they can never climb the ranks with their weak schedules. That's okay. So I'm glad you said this, Mr. Jones. Earlier, I think it was actually late last night, I posted on Twitter from our Vol Bros account what I think should be the top 4 right now. And actually, Rustin, I totally forgot this. I meant to ask you that tonight. That was going to be a surprise question I had for you, and I totally forgot till just now. But it shocks me. It shocks me that Michigan is ranked in the top 4 right now. I know they're undefeated. I get that. But that's easy to do when you're playing like, John's School for the Blind. I mean, like it's ridiculous, the level of their competition. Their first difficult game is this Saturday. That's it. Their only other difficult game is 2 weeks from now when they play Ohio State. That's it. They had 2 tough games the whole year long. That's it. So I mean, I don't see how, based on resume alone, that the committee could have Washington behind Michigan right now, just based on resume and strength of schedule alone. It's bogus, man. It's bogus. Carl said Texas going to Texas. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You're right, man. Tony said, hey guys, are you like me and want to see McCallan Castles get more touches? Thoughts? Dude balled out against UConn. The catch he had on the sideline where he like jumped, I don't know, 30 something inches in the air. It looked like it was crazy. That was an incredible catch, just incredible catch. It looks like they're trying to get him the ball more. So it'll be exciting to see what they do this week.
I want to see him and Jacob Warren get more touches. I think we're greatly underutilizing Jacob Warren right now.
Jacob Warren got 0 touches against UConn. 0. None. Let's see. Brennan said, guys, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning than Tennessee getting in.
Correct.
It's a long shot. Totally agree. Totally agree. I got you. So earlier, Matt, when he said they're due, he meant Georgia. They're due to lose. I mean, for sure, right? I mean, you win 28 straight, then you're bound to lose one. I don't know if you lose 2 after that, but you're bound to lose one.
Just keeping up with that stat that we talked about a few weeks ago. Georgia is now 66-1 under Kirby Smart when they score at least 30 points. 66-1.
And honestly, of the two games, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm saying it because I'm trying to be objective, but of the two games, if you're talking about hosting Ole Miss at home or going to Neyland and playing at Neyland where your quarterback has never taken a snap in his life, of those two games, I would say losing at Neyland is more likely than losing at home to Ole Miss.
I hope he proves me wrong, but I don't have any confidence in Lane in late season important games. He's not shown a very strong track record there.
Green Wave said, "Welcome, Green Wave. Good to have you." He said Ohio State spends big cash to get in that college football playoff when they have seasons with 0 good wins.
True.
Hey, I appreciate this. He said Vol Bros are legit, by the way. I appreciate that, man, very much. Thank you so much. Let's see. Clay, welcome, Clay. Good to have you. He said SEC championship is possible. Agreed. But playoffs are out. Also agreed. 100%. Yep. Whoa, I did not know this. Matt, thank you. He said Louisville is losing to Virginia right now.
It's tied. It's tied 14-14 in the third
quarter. They must have just scored. So look at Virginia, man. Virginia's just playing spoiler to all these people's seasons. First they got North Carolina. Now they're coming after Louisville. Let's see. Billy said he can't wait for Saturday's game. I agree, Billy. Totally agree. Let's see. Ohio State and Michigan play Vandy every week except when they play each other. And sure, Penn State counts for like Texas A&M.
It's actually a pretty good comparison.
That is a really good comparison. I agree. Totally. Mr. Jones said, how do they know how good a team is when they never play good teams? I totally agree. So it's interesting. So last week, actually, I asked Todd Blackledge that. And on him and Josh Mancuso's podcast, I'm fortunate enough that I get to be backstage while they're recording, and I put the graphics up on the screen and produce it for them and stuff. And there's a segment called Ask Todd. And I posed a question that week because that was my question. I said, do we really know how good of a team Michigan is since they haven't played anybody? And Todd had a good answer. He said, we know they're talented, but no, we don't know how good of a team they are because they haven't been tested. They're winning games right now like 49-0 against Minnesota and stuff like that. And like I said, whoever wins that Ohio State-Michigan game, I mean, they're going to have a cakewalk to the playoff because their conference championship game is going to be Iowa. I mean, it's just a joke. Brennan said SEC teams beat up on SEC teams every year. That's very true. I agree. Zach said, hey, not to get off the football conversation, but when did you say Tennessee baseball's first game was, Rustin? It's February something.
It's usually right around Valentine's Day. Sometimes they get to start a week early.
They're going out to either Arizona or Texas for that tournament to start the season.
Yeah.
They got some tough competition. They got Texas Tech and two other teams. I think they're playing Texas Tech, Baylor, and somebody else to start the season. Like they getting off to a tough start. Mr. Jones said the Big Ten's so scared they're stealing signs to get by teams like Rutgers. Yeah. All right, let's see here.
Yeah, it's 2 days after Valentine's Day. They're in Arlington. They've got Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and Baylor.
I thought it was Oklahoma.
February 16 through 18. They're at the Rangers Stadium.
Green Wave said Tennessee will make the playoff only one way. If Georgia loses to Ole Miss, Tennessee beats them and wins SEC, then we are locked for college football. I just don't think so. Not with 2 losses.
We're too far. Well, it wouldn't matter. Even if we won out, we're too far down in the rankings. There's too many teams ahead of us that aren't going to lose.
Right. I think that's the problem. There are other years when teams were losing 1 and 2 games and there were very few. Like that was one thing Todd Blackledge mentioned this week on their show. This late in the season, it's the first time all 4 teams in the playoff are still undefeated right now. the top 4. It's the first time ever. If this were like other years and other teams had 1 and 2 losses at this point, then I would feel much better about a 2-loss Tennessee SEC champion getting in the playoff. But the problem is you're going to have, most likely, you're going to have an ACC champion that's undefeated. You're probably going to, well, you will have a Big Ten champion that's undefeated. You're going to have potentially a Pac-12 champion that's undefeated, or at the very worst, a 1-loss team.
And the other Pac-12 team that will probably be their 1 loss or the one they just barely beat is probably deserving to be in the top 4, because honestly, like if you ask me to rank my top 4 right now, and Ohio State fans are going to love this, I would have Georgia number 1, because until you beat the man, they're the man. And when you're the 2-time defending national champs and you haven't lost a game, there's no reason you should be anywhere but number 1. So the committee got that one totally wrong. I would have Washington number 2. I'd have Oregon number 3. I would put Michigan in at number 4, because I am not a believer in Ohio State. I think they are awful. I would have Alabama number 5, and I would have Texas number 6, only because, and yes, I know Texas beat Bama head-to-head, but it was early, and right now Bama is a much better team than Texas is. And I would have Ohio State number 7, only because they're Ohio State. Honestly, they probably don't even deserve to be in the top 10.
So I ranked, my top 4 was Georgia number 1, because they're the best team in the country. Washington number 2, because they might be the best team in the country. Dude had 267 rushing yards this past week.
Yeah,
one guy had over 200 rushing yards. That's crazy. That's like Jamal Lewis at the Ravens level.
In the same backfield with Michael Penix. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like they were run heavy.
I had Ohio State at number 3, since they've beaten Notre Dame, which now other teams are beating Notre Dame too. But I had them there, and I had Florida State at number 4. So that was my top 4. But time will tell. Let's see. Carl said receivers build more confidence at the right time. Wait, Jalen Wright just scored again. Let's see. Tony said, Rustin, I agree on both of our tight ends. Would like to see both on the field. And start. Yeah, for sure. We have only good point, Tony. We've actually only seen one time this whole year in one game where both tight ends, Castles and Jacob Warren, were on the field at the same time. So that'd be a nice little change of pace for sure. Show them something different. Let's see. Mr. Jones said South Carolina magically got good for 2 games when Michigan sold them our signs. That's why they're wearing wristbands. I agree.
They didn't have to sell it to them. They already had a guy on the sideline.
Yeah. Matt said 20-14, and then they made an extra point, and it's 21-14.
Yep.
Go Wahoos. Absolutely. Let's see.
But so I know I just left Florida State out of my top 6, and this score right here is why. I think Florida State's a good team. They're definitely a top 10 team, but I don't think they're one of the 5 best teams in America, because they play in the weakest conference. The SEC the ACC every year is getting worse and worse and worse. Everybody raved preseason about Miami, and now we're sitting here going, yeah, Miami's average to below average. Clemson, you never know from week to week what in the world you're going to get out of them. The ACC is basically pointing at Duke and going, look at them. They're really good. It's bad when you're having to put Duke on a pedestal. Like, yeah, it's just not a fan.
Tony said, is this the week Jackson Ross takes off running? I hope so. Let's see it happen, man. Let's see it, or throw it, chuck that thing. Let's see what happens. Billy, this is a really, really good point, Billy. Billy said, I'm learning now that lost Alabama hurt as far as the playoffs go. So I'm going to make I agree with it. It certainly did, because you can't have 2 losses. Yeah. The loss that hurt even more was Florida.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If Tennessee beats Florida Tennessee's in the top 10 right now.
Easily.
And if they end up winning the East and win out, and they go to Atlanta, and it's a one-loss Tennessee team against a one-loss Alabama team, and Tennessee avenges that loss and beats Alabama and the SEC champion, then you have a one-loss Tennessee SEC champion who would have wins over Georgia, Alabama, Missouri. That team gets in the playoff, no doubt. No doubt about it. So the Florida loss is what's killing us right now. Because if I guarantee you, if we had not lost to Florida and still lost to Alabama, we would still control our own destiny, not just for the SEC championship, but for the playoff. That Florida loss is killing us right now. Killing us. That game, I wish we could have that one back. Let's see. Zach, I appreciate your confidence in us, buddy. We definitely don't know everything, but I appreciate your confidence. Hey, Traveling Fools is here. Welcome, guys. Good to see y'all. Y'all go check out Traveling Fools' YouTube channel. Carl, man. Hey, look at you, Carl. You are the man. Thank you so much, Carl. Carl just gave us $5 super chat. He said his playoff would be number 1, Georgia, 2, Tennessee, 3, the Volunteers, and 4, the Vols. He said unbiased opinion. You're awesome, Carl. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. But y'all go check out Traveling Fools' YouTube channel. They are from Florida. They came up to Knoxville last week for homecoming and got a video of the walking around the tailgate areas before the game. It's really cool to see how many fans are there. So go check out their YouTube channel. It's Traveling Fools. And so really, really a cool little video they made about, just essentially just pregame at Tennessee and homecoming. It's a really cool little thing. Cool video. So go check them out for sure. Let's see. Mr. Jones said Michigan hadn't been tested. I'm assuming that's who he's talking about. And they have signs. Yeah, definitely Michigan. They have the signs, which probably makes their job a lot easier for sure. For sure. Green Wave said, would they deny an SEC champ that beat Georgia and Bama, though? Yes, because they have 2 losses. If they had 1 loss, no, they would not. They would not deny them. But the fact they have 2 losses is what's killing us. Because you're going to have an ACC champion that doesn't have 2 losses. You're going to have a Pac-12 champion that doesn't have 2 losses. And that Pac-12 champion, especially if it's Washington, will have beaten Oregon twice. They will have beaten USC. They will have beaten Utah. They will have beaten Oregon State. That's a ton of ranked teams. They're not going to deny Washington, especially if they win out. You're going to have a Big Ten champion that's undefeated. So that's 3 teams right there. And you're going to have a Big 12 champion that's probably only got 1 loss. I mean, you're going to have too many conference champions with fewer losses than Tennessee. So do I think Tennessee, if they win out and they win the SEC championship, would they end up as 5 or 6? For sure. For sure. But once again, we're just hoping they make it to Atlanta because Georgia has to lose twice in a row. I mean, that's probably not going to happen. Zach said next year, guys, when Nico Iamaleava Heisman chance start. Green Wave said most of these other teams will take it out. I agree with that. I totally agree. I do think Washington, I think they're going to lose a game within the next 4 weeks, including the conference championship game. They will lose at least 1 game. I agree. Whoever wins Michigan, Ohio State will not lose a game. They're going to be they're in the playoff.
Yeah. And Florida State's not going to lose a game.
And Greenwave said, "You're probably right. Tennessee would get shafted and placed fifth if all that happens." Let's see. Daniel said, "Off topic. Josh Dobbs is 10th ranked quarterback on NFL Fantasy. How crazy is that?" He had a good game this week, no doubt. Even though he did have 2 turnovers, but he made up for it.
If y'all get a chance to watch it, he was on, I can't remember the name of their podcast, but he was on Thomas Edwards' podcast this week, and he's telling them about the entire game. And at one point he talks about literally Kevin O'Connell is in his earpiece telling him what routes everybody on the field's about to run because he has no idea what the play calls are.
Yep. It's like backyard football, man.
He actually compared it to Madden. He said it was like, okay, to your right, you're going to have an out, a dig, and a post corner. To your left, you're going to have a slant. And he said he was literally looking at the field like he was playing Madden and going, okay, that's the Y button. That's the,
My favorite thing he said was they asked him, about throwing to the receivers. He said the first time he threw live routes to the receivers was during pregame warmups.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Mr. Jones said Nico looked like Hendon Hooker when he took off running. He needs to learn to slide, though. Agreed. Not awkwardly falling down, tripping over the 40-yard line. Greenwave said Nico is legit. Also agreed. For sure, he is. He said ACC still better than the small 10, though.
I'm not sure it is. Duke and my...
Uh-oh. You there, Rustin? We may have just lost Rustin. He can come back, though. So Traveling Fool said Florida State's going to be exposed this weekend when my Canes curb stomp them. I hope so. He's back. Rustin's back.
Was it me or was it you?
I think it was you. It may have been me. I don't know. Everything looked cool on my end.
Okay. Everything. It must have been me then. Everything on my end went crazy.
Yeah. We're glad you're back though. So Traveling Fools, just so everybody knows, Traveling Fools hosts a post-game show for Miami after each game. So I hope he's celebrating this week because that just helps Tennessee. If Miami beats Florida State, I hope that happens.
Coming off that 20-6 loss to Dave Doran, not so sure that's going to happen.
Let's see. I'm going to skip down a little bit. Okay, Zach. All right, Zach said, so just curious, it could be Ole Miss in the playoffs. Think about this. Tennessee and Ole Miss in the SEC championship. Okay, so the only way that happens, it is mathematically possible. I'll say that. It is possible. But the only way that happens is Alabama has to lose this week to Kentucky, and then they have to lose to Auburn. They have to lose both games in order for Ole Miss. Ole Miss has to win out. Ole Miss has to beat Georgia and Mississippi State. And Alabama has to lose to Kentucky, and they have to lose to Auburn. So Alabama has to lose out. Ole Miss has to win out in order for them to make it to the SEC championship game. That's what's wild. Ole Miss could win out right now and only have one loss and not even make it to Atlanta. Because if Alabama wins out, Alabama has the head-to-head. So that's what's wild about that one. I like it, Greenwave. He said, Bama stole our signs. They made the adjustment. They had Connor's clones behind our bench. I like it.
I'm not going to lie. I like all the Photoshop pictures that have been floating around where people are just randomly putting Connor Stallions on their sidelines.
He said, Saban's no fool. He heard about Connor and said, we should do this too. I like it. Mr. Jones said his top 4 be number 1, Vols, number 2, Big Orange, number 3, Rocky Top, number 4, Tennessee. All of those teams, I hear they're all really good. So I think that's a good top 4. Ooh, Tony, good question. He said, y'all think Ricky Gibson, hey, a Missouri question. He said, y'all think Ricky Gibson gets playing time this week? I think he should. I agree. I totally agree.
I think we should move on to question 2.
Yeah, we probably should.
We're still on question 1.
Yeah, we're on question. That's true. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna put a star where we left off, and we'll come back pretty soon. Somebody asked about different podcasts. So the podcast Rustin mentioned about Josh Dobbs, that's called the Torchbearers podcast.
Yeah,
that's the podcast he was on. Apparently, he was also on the Players Lounge. Tony let us know that. Appreciate that, Tony. Let's see here. Ricky. Or did someone say Nico? Yes, they did, Ricky. We did too. We said he's a good quarterback. It'll be great watching him next year. Let's see. Whoa. Hang on. Before we go to question 2, Mr. Jones said if Bama would get in with 2 losses, they won't.
They won't.
Bama's not getting in with 2 losses. Why wouldn't Tennessee win? First of all, think about that. That means that Bama would have to lose to either Kentucky or Auburn and then beat Georgia to even have a shot of getting in with 2 losses as a conference champion. They're not going to put Bama in as a 2-loss team. That won't happen. So that ain't happening.
That's what started this conversation. That's what Greg McElroy was already prepping the Bama fans for today. He was like, y'all need to understand, like, this is going to happen. Even if we win out, we're not getting in with 2 losses. And they were losing their minds.
I like that. Greenway said, click that like button. Mr. Jones said, Connor Stallions is the new Where's Waldo.
He really is.
I like that's a good one. Let's see. All right. So cool. Question number 2. We're caught up now. Question number 2. Let's see here. Oh, Mr. Jones said not this year. He's saying Bama's gotten in with. Yeah, but once again, I mean, then you're talking about you've got other teams that also had multiple losses.
Yeah,
we don't have, and we just don't have that situation this year. All right. So second question. Who do you think is going to have a big game this Saturday, Rustin, in the Tennessee-Missouri game? Because we're not even the Georgia game doesn't even matter if we don't beat Missouri. So, who has a big game this week?
I'm not going to say who's going to have a big game. I'm going to say who needs to have a big game. And Jalen Wright. If Jalen Wright has a good day, Missouri has struggled between the tackles. They've given up a lot of runs, especially after contact between the tackles. That bodes well for Jalen Wright. And like I said earlier, stretch zone. If Elijah Herring does his job, then we'll put them behind the sticks. We'll have a lot of long second and longs, third and longs, and that's where we need to keep them. If he doesn't do his job, Cody Schrader's going to find that seam, and that's not going to be good for us.
So my 4 players that I'm essentially saying what you're saying. Here's who I hope has a big game. We need Aaron Beasley. I was going to say Arion Carter, but apparently he's out. I didn't know that. Elijah Herring, Jeremiah Thielander, and I guess since Arion Carter's out, Caleb Perry. We need those 4 guys to have absolutely off the charts games because they have tremendous responsibilities this week. They have to help stop a rushing attack that is very, very good. They have to help stop a quarterback who can both run it and throw it. So they're going to have to, spy him and be honest with, keeping him honest and not letting him escape. But at the same time, they have to help out in coverage and drop off in coverage to protect from his arm. I mean, those poor dudes, they're going to have to be all over the field all at the same time this week. And so all 4 of those guys are going to have absolutely tremendous games. And the fact that Arion Carter's not playing, if that's true, I'm not excited about that. That's not good, in my opinion. Let's see. Some of the comments that just came in while we were talking about that one. Yeah, so I mean that's part. So this is a good question. How many other teams would play Bama twice and Georgia once and win 2 or 3? Not many. You're right. Not many. That's part of being in the SEC, unfortunately. Whoa, Green Wave. Okay, Green Wave just gave their prediction, so we'll put that up on the next question. Vols fan, that's Zach. He said, I think Bazooka Joe will have a great day. Dante Thornton Jr. is heating up the pass game 2 weeks. I think yeah, I hope so. They need him. They need everybody. They need everybody. He said, Green Wave said, we need to play our game and not worry so much about what Mizzou does. Let them adjust to us. I think we will win. We have Georgia lined up. Yeah. So let's go to score predictions because we've had 2 people put score predictions on there, and I want to show what they said as well. So, Rustin, what's your score prediction for this week?
I'm going to surprise you. In Josh Heupel, I trust. Eli Drinkwitz has never, ever proven to me that he can consistently win big games. In every place he's been, not just Missouri. The last 2 years, we've beaten them by an average score of 64-24. A lot of people say, well, last year we had Hendon, we had this, we had that. Okay. What about the year before? We were 7-6. We had, guys learning the system, and we torched them for 66 points. Eli Drinkwitz has not proven to me that he can stop Josh Heupel. So I've got Vols 41, which I think is kind because that's 23 points below our normal average against Missouri. And Missouri with their normal average of 24. I'll take Tennessee 41-24.
Woo! Sign me up. I'm all about that. Well, you're feeling
Jalen
way
Wright
better than
has
I am.
well over 100 yards, maybe close to 200, and 3 or 4 touchdowns.
So, just so everybody knows, right now in the college football playoff rankings, Tennessee is 13th, Missouri's 14th. Before those rankings came out on Sunday, Missouri opened the game as a 1.5 point favorite. That line quickly moved, as we talked about Sunday night on our show. Rustin saw it already moved. It swung 3 points to make Tennessee the favorite by 1.5 points.
It's now 2. It bumped to 2 today.
It went to 2. So last time I saw it was down to 1 point, and apparently now it's gone back. Apparently people like that, so they put money on it. Now it's back up to 2 points. I could 100% see this being a 1 point game. 100%. It's just I don't like the circumstances surrounding it being at Missouri. I don't like the fact that our players know there's still, a big game against Georgia next week. That, if we win this one, then we might be playing for the East next week. I don't want them thinking ahead to that one. And we can sit here and say, well, nobody's going to do that. You take it one game at a time. Yeah, right. We all know teams look ahead. Like that's just part of being a human. I don't want them thinking about that game next. Look at our show tonight. All we've talked about is the SEC championship and the daggum playoff. That's what we've been talking about all night. We've barely even talked about Missouri. So to say that people don't look ahead, that's bogus. Of course people look ahead. That's what's going to happen. And so I'm concerned that our guys might look ahead. The only reason I'm picking Tennessee to win this game is Josh Heupel. That's it. That's the only reason. And our rushing attack and how he uses our rushing attack. I think this game is going to be won by our backfield. And if we're able to, and our defense, that's the bottom line. This has to be a complete team win. It has to be. I think that Missouri, I think they're going to score 30 points. I think they're going to score 3 touchdowns and kick 3 field goals. The only change to that is I could see him scoring 26 points and scoring 2 touchdowns and kicking 4 field goals. because that's been their MO. They kick a bunch of field goals. That's been their MO. They struggle to get in the end zone, a lot like us in the red zone. I think we score 4 touchdowns and kick 2 field goals. So I'm going to say we win 34-30. And I almost said 31-30, but I'm going to say 34-30.
Just going to put this out there. Over the last 2 years, we've run the ball an average of 48 times for 321 yards against them.
I hope we do it again.
With not this running back core.
That's true. It's very true. I hope we do it again. Tony said
that's not total between the years. That's the average.
Yeah.
We have run the ball an average of 48 times for 321 yards.
Tony said Austin Price said that Arian is out on today's podcast, so I haven't listened to that yet. So thank you for letting us know, Tony. I appreciate it. Some of the comments that have come in prior, as far as predictions, Robert, right out of the gate, gave us his prediction. Robert, good to have you with us. He said, I believe Missouri will give us a good game, but I believe we win 35-24, and Ole Miss will beat Georgia. I love it, man. Hey, sign me up. Let's do that. I'm all for that. Because then all of a sudden next week comes a really important game. We had a guy, if you didn't see it on Twitter earlier, we had a guy who, last week we talked about, is it possible that game day would be in Knoxville, even though they're going to be at Athens this week when they go back-to-back weeks. And this dude commented on a video earlier, and he was like, man, I knew Tennessee fans were stupid, but this is beyond even y'all, and he was like, game day never, ever, he said that, game day never, ever goes to the same place twice, and they never will in back-to-back weeks, same teams back-to-back weeks. Well, unfortunately for that dude, game day went to the same team back-to-back weeks this season. It was September 23rd and 30th. They were at Notre Dame on the 23rd, and then they went to Notre Dame Duke on the 30th. So, yeah, they do that sometimes. But we appreciate that guy watching if he did. If he just saw the title and commented and didn't watch it, then not cool, bro. But if he watched it, then he at least got us some analytics there. Let's see. Green Wave said, I honestly think barring refs giving no penalties on Mizzou, the Vols win by 21 or more. So Rustin would agree with you totally. Absolutely. I hope that happens.
I said 41-24. I've got a 17-point spread.
I got you. Carl said, Jalen Wright, run game's good, opens up the pass. Zach said Vols win 48-17. That would be amazing. I don't know that we can hold their offense to that few of points, but it'd be wonderful if we could.
We got a pretty good trend line that they're going to score 24. Ever since Josh Heupel's been here and Eli Drinkwitz has been there, they've scored 24 every single year.
I like Mr. Jones's prediction. He's not putting numbers on it. He's just like a lot to a little false. I like that. Carl, man, oh man, 52-13 Vols. Holy moly, I would love that.
I will say this, and this could be interesting. It's been a while, like probably all the way back to the MTSU game. It's been a while since Missouri's had a letdown. Like they're due for a bad day.
Like Georgia's due for a loss.
No, I don't think Georgia's losing. That's crazy.
Tony said 34-27 Vols. I love it. As long as we get the W, I'm happy. Let's see. Carl said Heupel remembers that Missouri didn't offer him the job. It's personal. I think there's a lot of truth to that, actually.
There's definitely, every time we've played them, there's definitely some bad blood. Like he doesn't hold back.
Mr. Jones said we run up the score in their building. I'd love that. Yeah, let's do it. Zach said, Evan, you better not pick Missouri like you did Alabama. I'm not comfortable about this game. I'm sorry, I'm not. Mr. Jones, that's honestly the question of the day. Mr. Jones, for those listening to the podcast tomorrow, the audio version, Mr. Jones asked, well, the refs keep screwing us. Well, I think Saturday, my bad. Saturday at about 7:30 p.m. It will be interesting to see how many tweets are saying 4 road games with 0 live ball penalties. or is it going to be saying, hey, they finally called a hold on somebody?
I think the one thing we do have going for us there is if there's anybody in the conference that complains about the refs more than Josh Heupel, it's Eli Drinkwitz. So the officials are going to have a really hard time figuring out which coach they hate more. So I think we'll get some of those live ball calls this week.
Green Wave said Vols rush for 250, pass for another 200. We give up 31 points and we score 41. That's a totally legit pick, in my opinion. Like, that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
That 100% could happen. Tony said we need Thornton to have a good game. Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, we do. We need Joe to run several times as well. Carl said, "Oh, you have little faith." 50 plus.
It's possible.
It's possible.
I'm not discounting it. I mean, honestly, I seriously considered going higher than 41. Like, I feel like I was doing Missouri a favor. I just
Did you see this next one? Tony, I love it. Tony said we need to hit their field goal kicker on the kickoff, bang him up a little. He's good.
He is.
I love it. That's the first time in Volbro's history we've had a warrant put out on the kicker.
They make the mistake of rolling him out there for kickoff every single time. He's live. Somebody I guarantee. Hey, Mike Eckler doesn't play around. I guarantee you, he's already identified somebody. He's like, you nail that dude.
It might be Mike Eckler. Like, he's crazy enough to do it.
Yeah, I guarantee you Mike Eckler has already predetermined who's going to be the one to get the targeting penalty.
Holy cow. That's the first time we've ever had somebody putting out a
he's a weapon. He's a weapon.
Bounty on the kicker.
He's a weapon and he's a big part of their offense. I mean, the reality is, yeah, you knock him out of the game, you could take 6 to 12 points off the board.
Mr. Jones said Missouri forfeits at halftime, 42-3. Elijah, welcome, Elijah. Good to have you, buddy. He said 34-20 Vols. Green Wave said it won't be like last year. Closer for sure. We do win, just going to be a 2-score game. Definitely possible. Elijah said Joe's playing his best ball of his career. I think he played his best game of his life on Saturday. Yeah, I'd say the Orange Bowl last year is probably his best game so far.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think his game against Kentucky was a good game. He certainly played well. I'll say this. The ball he threw to Squirrel White over the middle last Saturday was maybe the best throw of his life. I totally agree with that. Mr. Jones has helped me out. He said it's Saturday somewhere. Absolutely. Especially in about over 24 hours, it'll be Saturday somewhere. Then we got the Prime Meridian helping us out. They said 6 Smokey on the kicker. It's like Uga when Uga attacked that dude from Auburn a couple of years ago. Zach said the meds are kicking in. Good night, Vol Bros. Great show. Good night, Zach. Good to have you with us, buddy. Green Wave said Virginia 24, Louisville 17. Good night, man. Virginia is just destroying people's seasons.
6 minutes left.
Daniel, so I saw this. I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet. I'm glad he mentioned it. Mike Eckler was the Vol Club Confidential interview today. So I need to go watch that. Carl said, dude from Missouri kicked a 60-plus yard field goal. Yeah, he did. That's the thing, man. That's a big dude. Like, if somebody's supposed to go hit him on, it's kind of like Joe initiating contact on people when he's running. That kicker might initiate contact on some folks. That's a big old dude. Let's see. Aftermath Chris said his touchdown to Brew in the Orange Bowl might still be his best throw. He threw it. Well, yeah, okay, that's a good point too. He threw it to where only Brew could get it, go perfectly over the defender in the back of the end zone. Yep, that was an incredible pass. Green Wave said that 61-yard field goal was insane. It was incredible.
And it was good from 65 or 66.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't close.
It wasn't just barely creeping over that crossbar. It was good, man. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Hopefully Sunday night, hopefully everybody can join us Sunday night at 9:00. We'll be recapping the Missouri game. It is our sincere hope that Sunday night we are celebrating a Vol victory and an Ole Miss victory. That is our hope, because as soon as the Tennessee-Missouri game ends, if Tennessee's on top, all of Vol Nation is immediately turning their attention to Georgia and Ole Miss. Like that's certainly going to be the case, and so we hope that we have a great Saturday ahead of us. Carl said, it's been a blast, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, Carl. Ricky said, touchdown Louisville. So that game's getting a little bit interesting here.
Yep.
Tony said, put Elijah Simmons in on kickoff return.
You laugh.
Go ahead.
Mike Eckler, he ain't all there. Like I could see him doing it. He'll roll him out there in the middle like he's supposed to be the front wall and tell him as soon as that dude kicks it, just go plaster him.
Hey, if he tells Jeremiah Thielener to go hit him, I guarantee you Jeremiah Thielener to go hit him. Mm-hmm. Aftermath Chris, like you, buddy, he said, peace, bros. Be here to celebrate Sunday night. Love it, man. That'd be awesome. Let's celebrate. Absolutely. It's going to be a good weekend. Apparently, Mr. Jones says Kirby is sponsored by Hoover. Hoover vacuum cleaners because he sucks. Yep. Fun night. Hope to see everybody with us on Sunday night at 9:00. Go Vols, baby. And we will see you all soon. Have a great evening, everybody.